At the Crystal Q Cafe, and we're getting ready to hear a speaker from the Executive Ministries of the Eastern Shore. Now, Ron, tell me about this fellow.
Yeah, his name is Mosab Joseph. He's a Palestinian Muslim, born and raised in a Muslim family in the Palestinian territories of Israel. And he was actually the son of one of the 7 founders that started Hamas.
Hamas is the major terrorist organization.
Hamas in Lebanon, it is one of the major terrorist organizations. It's now the ruling party within the Palestinian territories as well, because they're somewhat of a two-faced, and I don't mean that derogatorily, but two-faced organization. They have a political face, and then they have a very quiet terrorist face as well, where they don't take credit for much of the terrorist activities, but they have very active terrorist cells operating primarily inside Lebanon, but actually outside of the territories throughout the Middle East as well.
And why is he here?
Well, interesting. Well, he's a friend of mine. I've met him through another friend that's going to be speaking at lunch as well.
Because you work in the Middle East?
Yes, I do. I've been working in the Middle East, trying to take the Christian faith in a very culturally sensitive way to the Muslim majority population. 500 million people in the Middle East, and the heart, mind, and purse strings, if you will, exist in the Middle East. It's the petrodollars that are funding the very aggressive Muslim terrorist activity, and also Muslim evangelism, where you see mosques being built in the primary cities around the United States. But Mosab came to faith. Well, interesting, he came to faith from a Muslim background to being a follower of Jesus as a Christian.
But he was a terrorist.
He was a terrorist. He was the son of the founder. He was, in a sense, the COO operating. He was executing suicide bombing plants. He was sending suicide bombers on their missions. He was ordering assassinations and things like that. He didn't do it himself, but he was in a leadership position and doing those things. And so to come from that background.
So he was then captured by the Israelis. Tell us a little bit about the story.
Yeah, it's an interesting. During the transition from being a Muslim terrorist to becoming a Christian, he was imprisoned quite a few times because of his activities and was able to get out. But during one of the interrogations, he was approached to become an agent for the Shin Bet. Shin Bet is the equivalent of the FBI here. It's a little bit more secretive. And
so it's an Israeli FBI.
It's an Israeli equivalent of FBI, correct. And he was approached to become an agent, and he thought what he would do is be a double agent. In other words, he would think that he was working for the Israeli Shin Bet.
He would mislead the Israelis.
He would provide misinformation to the Israelis, and at the same time, he would take valuable information, intelligence information, into Hamas. But what he started to see was the sincerity of the Israelis really wanting peace, and it became a retaliatory kind of who struck who first, who takes the first preemptive strike, and then somebody retaliates. And he thought, quite honestly, that he'd become more effective if he actually was an agent for Shin Bet and could isolate some of the known terrorists that were operating somewhat independently under the banner of Hamas. And he did that for 7 years. Very, very effective.
So he saved a lot of Israeli lives by revealing who the suicide bombers were.
Well, not only he saved not only the Israelis' lives, but he also saved Palestinian lives and Hamas lives, because Hamas was actually terrorist within their own circles. When he was imprisoned, he would see torture and interrogations going on within the Hamas prison fellowship that was taking place, where there was so much distrust, they were killing one another. So in a sense, he was saving lives of peaceful Palestinians, Palestinian Christians, Palestinian Muslims, terrorists, and Israelis. And that was what justified in his mind what they view now as a traitor to Palestine and Israel, to do what he did for 7 years.
So he's going to tell us today what led him to become a Christian with a Muslim background and an Israeli influence.
Absolutely.
That'll be interesting. Now, I understand. Now, he's written a book?
Yes, he did. He's authored a book. It's been published by Tyndall Publishing out of Wheaton, Illinois. And that's available. We have certain copies available here at lunch today that we're going to be distributing. And I could be a contact for additional
when I was overseas a few months ago, the headline was that he had revealed names and things that were prior secret, and that he was going to be killed. There were death threats against him. That was the news story a few months ago.
That's still true.
Overseas. It's still true. Yeah. I know it's true because I understand that the police department did not want him speaking in downtown Easton.
Yeah, that's true. We have FBI agents, we have Homeland Security agents.
We're not supposed to tell who we have here
We're
today.
not supposed to mention his name?
No, we're not supposed to talk about security. Well, I can tell you that
Sorry,
I have never
that too.
I've never seen as much security as we have here today in Easton ever in my life.
Sure.
And they're everywhere. And there are no police uniforms here today. And there's no Easton Police here today. And there's no Maryland State Police because they're not allowed to protect a private citizen. But there's a private security force, plus the agencies you've mentioned we weren't supposed to mention. So it's going to be very interesting to hear. And so let's go on and listen.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Ron Ensminger. We do have two speakers today. I'll be introducing the first speaker, Haron Ibrahim. Haron, like Mosab, was born into a Muslim family. Haron was born in Jerusalem, in the Israeli Arab section, but became a Christian, a follower of Jesus. And God has been using him in some amazing ways. And I've asked Haron to come and share for maybe 5 minutes, one, his ministry and how he's reaching the Muslims, not only in the Middle East, but across the world, through print, through media, television, outreach, reconciliation, safe houses for Muslims that are accepting Jesus and are being persecuted. They have safe houses that they take them into to rescue them and expatriate them from the country if they have to. But more importantly, he's going to share a larger context. The story you're going to hear from Mosab is not an isolated story. It's a dramatic conversion from inside the inner working and leadership of Hamas, the terrorist organization in Lebanon, to becoming a follower of Jesus. But I'm hoping what Haron gives you is a perspective among the 500 million Arabs, the Muslims that are in the Middle East. The testimony that you hear from Mosab is happening every day. There's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Muslims that are questioning the efficacy of the faith. They're looking for answers. They're looking for truth. So when you hear Mosab speak, think in a larger context. Pray for the Muslim world. It's about ready to break open. And I think you'll hear the testimony from Haron and Mosab that will shed some light. You won't read about it in the news, but you'll hear the hearts of these men speak. Haron I've known for 14 years. He's a dear friend, a dear brother. Please welcome him warmly. Haron.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Haron. Haron, it's the Arabic version of Aaron, A-A-R-O-N. And my family name is Ibrahim, which is Abraham. Easy, biblical name. I was called Haron by my father in a Jewish context because my father used to be a good friend of a Jew that was called a Haron. I was born in a Muslim family. I have studied in a Jewish school, and so I was both Muslim and Jew. Jewish at school, I had the exams and everything, homework I had to do, just like the Jewish religion. And then home, a Muslim. I was never a good Muslim. I prayed in whole my Muslim life maybe about 12 days, 2 weeks maximum, I don't remember. I never fasted the whole Ramadan. My family is a really Muslim family, but I was a terrible Muslim. It's the truth. I never knew really much about my religion, but of course, this is the religion. This is the best religion. I believed that one day when I die, I go to hell. But maybe for 40 days, 44 days maximum, just like all Muslims believe, and then the Prophet Muhammad will come and he will just help you to get out of it. I said, well, let's enjoy this life. 44 days is a short time. Then we'll have, that's, I used to be good at mathematics. At the age of 18, I met a Finnish lady. I fell in love with her. We moved to Finland. When I was 25 years old, I was drunk, like usually North Europeans, and a man came. Just very short, just to tell you how I became Christian. Just a man from nowhere, he came and he said, do you know God? I said, sure, I know God. I'm a Muslim. I studied in Jewish school. My wife is Christian. I know God. He said, Noel, the way I see you, you don't know God. You're not going to be in heaven because you're drunk. Even as a Muslim, you go to hell. And it touched my heart. I went and I asked him, what verse do you have to prove that I don't go to heaven? He said, but Jesus said that no one comes into the Father except through me. I said, give me that verse. And he gave it to me. I gave me the New Testament. And I went back home and I read the Gospel of John 7 times in a row. And I fall in love with a person called Jesus. Amen. I accepted him as my Savior. That's easy. 3 years later, I was called by God, I know that, to reach Muslims in any way. And I heard that radio is very effective. So I said, okay, it's radio then. So I started to produce radio programs. 1987, 1988, we moved to Sweden. And for 5 years, that's how I learned Swedish. 1993, I went back to Finland, where I was living with my family. And we started TV ministry first to the country of Sudan in 1995. The 18th of November, a group of Middle Easterns and missionaries gathered in Cyprus and started something called SAT-7. I remember the date because it's my birthday. And so the broadcast to the Arab countries started on satellite. People wrote here and there 1 letter, 10 letters, 100 letters, and then another channel started, Miracle Channel, and for years we produced programs for Christians. That was very obvious. I mean, to produce Christian programs for Christians, and hoping, praying that Muslims would watch the programs and some Muslims would accept Christ. And some of them did. Praise God for that. One Muslim accepted Christ, another, but I was not very happy myself because I wanted to confront Muslims. So 2002, I produced shows confronting Muslims, telling them that for 1400 years, that's enough. We've been given answers. That's enough. Now it's my turn. Now you say Jesus is not God. I say Muhammad is not a prophet. The Bible is corrupted. The Quran is corrupted. And so Muslims, for the first time in their life, they actually had the position of defense. So it's not really Christians. Now we produce programs directly to Muslims. And it was amazing. God have opened doors we never even dreamed of. Thousands of people accepted Christ. And today, this channel that we started called Al Haya, I'm the director of that channel. We receive about 40,000 letters or emails or phone calls every month. We know of 1,500 savings or decisions every week. And God is doing amazing things. This is what we know. What we don't know, that's much more. Praise God for that, we don't know. Because, and it's not really that important. We are not called to save people, we are called to preach the gospel. It's a privilege for me to introduce Mosab today, because Mosab is not really a typical Muslim who became Christian. We have those so-called typical Muslims who became Christian. Actually, there is no standard of how Muslims become Christian. Every single person is unique, and every single person is unique for God. Every single person that is in this room is special and unique for God. He loves you. But sometimes, because of this, of the political situation, because of the religion background, and all of that mess that we have in the Middle East, we have some special story. Now, to become a Christian as a Muslim, it brings a shame to the family, because Muslims believe that religion, the Islam religion, is the best. God has brought that best religion for all humankind, and that is a shame if you leave it. So you are persecuted. Your family can deny you. You can be killed. In the best situations, I mean, you can just be kicked out of the family. But many people have paid the price. They were killed because of accepting Christ. Now that's one. The second thing, if you are a Muslim, and then you are a son of a religious man that is a known man, that is an extra shame. So it's what a shame to the whole family. Now Mosab brought another suspect, the third and the worst shame that any Muslim or any Arab can bring. So he is the son of a sheikh, Sheikh Hassan Yusuf, which is a Muslim scholar, and he is a Muslim who became Christian. But the third, oh mine, that is, he was collaborating with Israel, and that is terrible. So he brought three things together. First, he is the son of a known man, then he is a Muslim who became Christian, then he is not only that, he collaborated with Israel. So he in this one man, there are three things that all Muslims would hate. And I think that, I don't want to be in your shoes, by the way. It's terrible. I was, I'm first too. My grandfather was a sheikh in the mosque, and I am a Muslim. But of course, one of the part of the shame that I brought to the family is that I'm producing programs to reach Muslims, and I'm the director for Hayan. But Mosab is a young man that broke all of that. But his story proves one thing. All humankind, all human beings are important for God, and he speaks to the fanatics and to the secular and to everybody in his own way. Mosab, it's a privilege to be with you here, and I always love you to hear from you, because every time I hear his story, there's something new I learn. So let's welcome him.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is a great privilege to be here in Easton. This is my first time in this town, and the rain is amazing. Wonderful people, and as I said, it's a privilege to be here. It's a little busy schedule, so I didn't get enough sleep. I might look a little tired, so I hope that I can speak English today. All the time I say there is English for there is English, and there is English for foreigners, and there is the English for me. My English is different. I try my best. As Brother Haron said, I'm unlike him, coming from a very religious family, that I cared a lot about Islam. I remember going to the mosque for the dawn prayer at 4 a.m. in the morning while I was 5 or 6 years old. And the dogs were chasing me, and I was fighting with the dogs, throwing stones on them, trying wild dogs. I mean, in our country we don't host dogs, and most of them are kind of beasts out there. So a child fighting the dogs to find his way to the mosque. I was very convicted. I dedicated my life for that cause, and I wanted one day to be like my father. When I was 9 years old, my father established Hamas. If you didn't hear about Hamas, it's the Islamic resistance movement that wants to destroy Israel and establish an Islamic state on the rubble of the state of Israel. And after that, they want to establish a global state on the rubble of every civilization, everywhere. And humans have two choices: to become Muslims or be enslaved to Muslims. Of course, I don't want you to misunderstand me. Muslims are wonderful people. Traditionally, I am a Muslim, and I still in traditions, in the culture. And Muslims are wonderful people. Don't look at them as enemies who want to kill you or destroy you. But their system, their religion, their God, their prophet, those are our enemies and their enemies at the same time. And Muslims all the time are looking for enemies outside of themselves, while they worship their biggest enemy every day. This is why they have everything. They have human resources, they have oil, they have everything, and they're still in behind. Now, I was, as I said, very convicted to Islam, and my father later on established Hamas movement, which is the Islamic Sunni revolution in the entire world. My dad started that. I was convicted. Later on, my father, they start to arrest him, the Israelis, for being involved in Hamas movement. And I was really hurt that my dad was arrested many times, up to 14 times. I remember once they released him for 6 hours and they arrested him again. And that hurt me as a child, and I hated the Jews. I was living next to a cemetery where I was witnessing all the blood and the killing that was happening in our entire town. Dozens of people were killed, young people. I was in a very dangerous situations. I was kidnapped when I was 10 years old by an Israeli settler. I was kidnapped to a settlement, and my mother had no idea where I was. So simply, I didn't grow up in the best environment for a child to grow up. I hated the Jews for several reasons. First, because the God of Islam hates them. Every time you read the Quran, he's describing the Jews, the sons of the monkeys and pigs. So if this is the mentality of the God of that religion, what can you expect from the followers of that religion? Second, for political reasons, that Israel is occupying our land and killing our children. And I was witnessing for the death of many, many Palestinians. And I myself experienced the brutality of the Israeli occupation. To come from all this background altogether, you just have a mixture of hate, revenge, and anger that I cannot describe. Because of that, because I was there, I don't blame terrorists. I blame their ideology, and I blame the roots of the problem that caused them to be hateful like this. Because it all leads to Satan, leads to the devil, to the power of darkness in our world, the bad spirits that we don't recognize. And all the time we're looking for enemies in men. But the enemy is not man. The enemy is the bad in that man. So I hated the Jews and I wanted to kill them. I wanted to take revenge. And I decided when I was 18 years old to get a hold of guns and go shoot some Jews, because this is a way of worshiping for Muslims regarding to the God of Islam. And fortunately, I was arrested before I took any action. And I was held in an Israeli interrogation facility. It's underground, it still exists till this day. It's in West Jerusalem. It used to be a Russian compound. And this facility is under the ground that nobody can imagine. Even Palestinians couldn't believe what I told them about that facility. The Red Cross representatives weren't even allowed to go inside and check what was happening there. Very dark place, very dirty, loud music. You're not allowed to sleep for a long time. Some people didn't sleep for 40 days. I personally, after 1 week of not sleeping and being beaten almost to death, I forgot how I looked like. I tried to remember how my mother looked like, and I forgot. No mirror, no good food, no clothes, no shower, nothing. And one day, the guard took me to one of the offices. I was handcuffed to a small chair. And an officer came, and the guy offered me to work for Israel. And I said, is this guy an idiot or what? They tortured me. They almost beat me to death. They arrested my father. They killed our people. They occupied our land. And this guy is offering me a job. What's the matter with him? And I thought about it like this, with full of hate. And I said yes. And I had a plan. I wanted to infiltrate the Shin Bet, the Israeli Shin Bet, and kill them from inside. Fool them, tell them, okay, yeah, I will be a very good friend, and this will give me a perfect position to attack them from inside. What motivated me was the God of Islam and the spirit of anger and revenge. Now, they told me, but we cannot release you now, after I agreed to work with them. I said, what? You know, it's like now we're supposed to be friends. I have to go back to school, to go back to my life. They said, no, if we release you now, people will know that you have a relationship to us. I was only 18 years old. So they told me, you have to go to prison for a short time. So we give you some cover. I said, all right, short time, short time. And the short time was 16 months. That was the short time. But what happened in prison was totally shocking to me and to many people, which almost changed my life forever. I was transferred to this facility that Hamas controls prisoners inside prison. 2,000 prisoners. The second day I started to discover that Hamas people were torturing this time their own people. For what accusation? They were suspicious of their members that they had relations with the Israeli Shin Bet and given information about the organization. So they started to become suspicious of everybody, and they tortured many people. Many people were killed, and their torture was brutal. Their method of investigation and looking for the truth was totally unlogical. So I started to question, what's the difference between the Israeli torture and the Hamas torture? Logical. I'm just asking a question as a kid who's terrified, afraid, and by the way, in a relationship with the Shin Bet. But my plan wasn't to betray my people. My plan was to work for my people, to do their God's will. But now I start to question what was happening. I am dealing with torture. And in fact, the Israelis, when they tortured, they had a reason. They're a small country, and they were torturing some terrorists like myself who wanted to kill Jews, to get information and get a hold of the guns before someone else take the guns and go kill. But those guys are torturing their people, and it didn't make any sense to me. So I started to question, why Israel is my enemy, and why Hamas is not my enemy? Hamas is also torturing, and Hamas, if it gets the chance, they will torture me as well. So why I consider Israel as an enemy, and I don't consider Hamas as an enemy? This is hypocrisy. And I decided not to work for anybody, not to work for Hamas, not to work for Israel, just go back to my school, finish school, maybe find another country. After I was released, I was invited by the Shin Bet, and I said, you know, I go for one meeting with them, and I say, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in working with you guys, goodbye. So I go to the Shin Bet first meeting, and in the first meeting I discovered that all the torture that happened in prison was based on lies, and all those people who were tortured, killed on the hands of Hamas. My home, where my father established, was wrong, and it wasn't based on facts. And all those guys were victims. So that made me curious, and I started to question more. I wanted to know more what was really happening. And later on, after, let's say, a few months of relationship, I found out that the Israeli Shin Bet was trying to help me out, to build me up. And we became friends. The same exact guys that I wanted to kill, we became friends. We became, from the level of, let's say, Israelis and Palestinians to the level of human beings, just dealing as friends, talking, eating, laughing, going to picnics, and I learned a lot about those guys, and I found that they were just like us. Even I found in some of them better example than my own people. So I became even more curious and kept going that road. Now here is the real transformation that happened in my life while I was confused. Imagine yourself, your father is trusting you. He's a top leader of that country, parliament member. He got the highest votes in the elections, and everybody respects him for fighting the occupation. And everybody in your country hates the occupation, including your mother, your brothers, and they have enough reasons. They're not hating the occupation only because they have fun hating the occupation. Because they have enough reasons. My mother suffered, my brothers suffered, everybody suffered. And I'm living with them every day, and I hear their conversations, but I don't agree with them. But at the same time, I couldn't share with them what I was going through. And I wanted to learn more. Now, one day I'm walking down the streets in Jerusalem, and a British evangelist, a cab driver, invited me for a Bible study. And I said, I was invited by the Shem Bet, the Jews. To me, they are infidels. And I learned something from them. Let me go to those other infidels, Christian infidels, and see what they have to offer. So I agreed to go to the Bible study. Now, they gave me the Bible as a gift. When I was reading Matthew, the Sermon on the Mount, the teaching of our Lord Jesus Christ, I came across the verse, love your enemy. And at that time, this verse hit the spot. That was very, very awakening verse in my life. Because if you step into my shoes, the enemies of yesterday became my friends. And the friends and the family of yesterday became the enemies of today. And simply, I was confused. When Jesus Christ told me, love your enemy, that relieved me. All the pain. All of a sudden, that wasn't a plan. All of a sudden, in a position where I can stop the killing and the death of hundreds of people. Countless numbers of Jews, Muslims, Palestinians, Israelis, while I was 21 years old. Just with simple information that I provided, or at least with some information that the Shem Bet gave me, and I could put the information together. So I was at the same time a Christian, Israeli, Shem Bet agent, spy, undercover. Nobody knew who I was, and I didn't get a chance to even talk about it to anyone. The Shem Bet knew that I was very interested in the teachings of Jesus Christ. But they told me, don't ever get baptized. You just stay the way you are. You know, and I believe in Jesus Christ, believe in Jesus Christ, but don't get baptized because it's very dangerous for your reputation, for your future, for your safety. And I agreed with them. It took me 6 years. Unlike Haron. Haron read John 7 times in a row and he became a Jesus Christ follower. It took me 6 years to read the Bible again and again and again, and I still didn't get it. One day, I'm just flipping the channels. In fact, one of my friends introduced me to Haron's TV. And I was watching challenging Muhammad, challenging the Quran, exposing everything about Islam. And I was, wow, I need that. This is what I'm looking for. Because, you know, I didn't dare to challenge the Quran. It's just a belief that I'm in that box and I don't want to get out of the box. Yes, I got out of the box of Hamas and I had a relationship with the Israelis and I started to read the Bible, but I never questioned the God of Islam, if he's really a God or not. And Haron by that time and his ministry had no idea that I was sitting in my room watching their TV on a daily basis, and it was my church, it was my ministry. In fact, second day I watched their TV, I decided to get baptized against the Shin Bet decision, and I got baptized. Now, I am just a simple man that God used. And I am not trying to be a hero. I just share this simple story with you to show you the grace of God. His grace that liberated us from religions, from feelings of shame and guilt, and give us this amazing spirit to be productive in our societies, communities, love everybody unconditionally. The message of love. This is really amazing. This is what really amazed me about Christianity. And it's not, I didn't come to Christianity because of Christians. Because if I want to judge the Christian behaviors, most of the time I would say, you know, this is not for me. But Jesus Christ, if we really focus on him and see what he has done to us and what he has to offer to every one of us, we will understand how amazing this God is. Especially if we compare so today after understanding God's grace, and I had a big, I knew the truth, and I looked back at my people, 1.5 billion Muslims around the world, producing terrorism all the time. A bomb in his underwear. And we hear about another car bomb here and there. Nobody feels safe anymore. And we just blaming a bunch of terrorists who I believe that they are not more than victims of this belief. And if we solve this crisis in their minds, they will not be terrorists anymore. They will just be normal people who care about everybody, because I am an example for that. One day I was a terrorist, practically. Yes, I didn't kill, but I was a terrorist. I qualified to be the worst terrorist at some point. And today I know my heart, at least. Maybe people judge me, but I know who I am today, and I know who I was yesterday. So this is our message, you know, to challenge Muslims with their God and with their belief. And if the problem of terrorism is ideological problem, we cannot go to them and provide a political or economical solution. We have to provide an ideological solution for an ideological problem. And this is what we're doing today. Our duty is very important and it's very complicated. One of the challenges that I had in my life, that this is a heavy cross of shame. to carry, to go and tell your family, first of all, I don't believe in your God. And your prophet is a liar. And your Quran is not more than a book of garbage. I'm sorry for the language. And guess what? I didn't stop on that level. I turned my back to your movement, to your national interest, and I helped your enemies. Not against you, but I did what was right. Now, all those things are very shameful. And the smallest of them put a death sentence on me. Turn your back on Islam, this means death. Collaborating with Israel, this means death by all Arab countries. So nobody wants to be in that position. I don't blame Haron. He said, I don't want to be in your shoes. You know, and but I am sure that if he was called in the same situation, he will be courageous enough to take a similar stand. But I mean, it's very difficult. Even Christians of the Middle East stood against me by saying that I'm trying to use Christianity to govern myself. Why did he go public with that? Why he didn't just keep it for himself and go to the church and be like everybody else? But my understanding that our people are in the prison of shame, guilt, and fear for the last 1400 years. And in order to liberate them, to get them out of this prison, we need to give them liberty. And liberty is God's grace. This is what really will get them out of this prison and make them a better nation. We are trying to help them. They might think that, you know, today I'm working for America and Israel against my people. And they have no idea that my main focus to liberate them and help them get out of this prison of Islam. Islam is an evil religion. And I'm not standing here, I know some people would say, based on what? What I say that Islam is a lie wrapped with lots of layers of truths, facts, and beautiful deeds sometimes. So it looks bright. And I describe it as a delicious, amazing. You would look and say, wow, this meat is amazing, but it has poison in there, and it's deadly. And many people are deceived. Satan in you, if you understand the Bible, and you compare the Bible to the Quran, you compare Jesus Christ to Muhammad and the God of Islam, the God of the Bible to the God of Islam, you will understand that there was a perfect deceiver who deceived all those humans. 1.5 billion Muslims today believe in a fake religion. And it's very dangerous for themselves and for the entire world. Terrorism, international security, I'm telling you, we will not achieve that without defeating the God of Islam. If the God of Islam exists on the American soil, don't expect that there will be security in this country. And I am afraid of the future. Those events that happen, I don't want to freak you out, but those events that are happening today, in New York, terrorist attempts, we have been there. And this is how it started in Israel. It was just a failure here, a failure there. Then after that, it became organized attacks that bleeded the economy, bleeded the country, everything. And in this country, especially America, cannot tolerate a suicide bomber here and a car bombing there, even every couple of months, if they can get that. This will destroy economy. Think about Wall Street, think about banks, mortgages, tourism, security for individuals, for everybody. And I'm told you, I'm not here to freak you out or scare you. I just want you to be aware of this, and it can happen anytime. And in order to defeat this enemy, this monster, we should not keep chasing people like Bin Laden. Bin Laden is not more than a small terrorist on the map of Islam. But the God of Islam himself, who mandates in the Quran the killing of every person who doesn't believe in the Quran, he's the responsible number one. And he's the one that he needs to be fought. Today, I'm telling you as a Christian, that we cannot defeat the God of Islam by a nuclear bomb or by any weapon that we know. But we can defeat him by the weapon that Jesus Christ gave us, the ideology of love versus the ideology of hate. Because of that, I know that many of you are Christians. Hold on that belief and trust in your God. He's an amazing God, and be proud of him. We gave up everything for Jesus Christ, and you have everything in him. So don't be ashamed of your God. You might lose some friends, you might lose some position here and there, but it doesn't matter. Our existence in this life is very short, and we have to do our duty for ourselves and for others. And the only chance to defeat Islam, to defeat all the power of darkness, not only Islam, because the power of darkness has many forms, is the love of Jesus Christ. Thank you very much for listening. I'm sorry that I talk very much. And if you have any question you want to ask that I wasn't clear about, I will be more than happy to answer.
Thank you, Mosab. What I meant, I don't want to be in your shoe because you were 8 and I'm 9.5, so it's too tight. All right, this is a time for Q&A, and I don't want to. I know Americans; they're brave. You speak. Please just go on and ask whatever you want. We will answer whatever we want.
Challenge me.
Okay. Yeah, we should.
So they can hear the question. Thanks a lot for being here today, first of all. Appreciate the courage. In your book, I wrote a quote down that I thought was interesting, and I want to ask you a question about it. It said, "Tit for tat, the reciprocal killing continued, an eye for an eye, and there was no shortage of eyes." Where or how does forgiveness fit in a Muslim person's faith, or does it? Where or how does forgiveness fit in a Muslim person's faith?
Yes, there is forgiveness, and everybody thinks that they forgive, but there is a difference between forgiveness and unconditional forgiveness, and there is a difference between love and unconditional love. A person might think that they love, but they don't really love. We're talking about unconditional love, and those are the gifts that were given to my people and to the Israelis in the Middle East. The only way to get out of this endless circle of violence, to adopt those great principles that Jesus Christ provided us: unconditional love, unconditional forgiveness, that I forgive you no matter what. Because everybody's waiting for the other side to forgive. And in the process of waiting for the others to forgive, there is lots of blood. So we're talking about unconditional forgiveness, unconditional love that starts in every individual's heart. I hope that answered your question.
Let me add this as well, as just like compare this, that in Christianity, forgiveness, forgetness. I mean, you forgive, you forget. And in Islam, you forgive, but you hold it. You don't empty the circle bin. You still keep it there. And when the next mistake is done, you are punished for all mistakes.
Haron loves Islam.
It may be a little difficult for me to phrase this question, but in listening to what brought about the big change in your life, would it be fair to say that it was the, if you will, the culture of love versus a culture of hate?
Yes. So
You've mentioned love a lot. You didn't mention hate that much, but it tells me, the way you explained it, that hate is a good name for what you left for love. Is that fair to say?
I don't want to take gods out of the picture by any chance.
Yes.
Yesterday, I shared this with you, I didn't intend to talk about this. But I was in Hollywood, and their biggest concern, I have 47 requests for filmmakers, like the guys that you only maybe hear about them on TV, and all of them just like, no, but about the Jesus Christ part of this. And I tell them, guys, if you want to make a movie, you have to be honest. The transformation didn't happen because all of a sudden I became a good guy. You know, I read the Bible, and I was introduced to the love of Jesus Christ as an example. I'm not talking about some behavior of some Christians or invitation to a church. I'm talking about what Jesus Christ taught me and adopted his teachings that changed my life. So those are events in my life. Now, hate versus love, yes, it's about God is love. In the Bible, when you read the Bible, God is love. This means that God is equal to love. And the God of Islam represents hate. Big time. So you can say whatever you want to say a name, but at the end of the day, Jesus Christ represents love. Even sometimes I know that some people might be hurt because some Christians, and they don't want to give credit to Christianity or to Christians or to some religion. I don't blame you. Sometimes I look at some examples among Christians, and I feel that I want to run away. But when it comes to Jesus Christ, nothing has anything against him. And he absolutely represents love, and it is love versus hate. Yes.
If I may, given what you've said about the Islamic ideology, how do you feel about how America embraces religious freedoms?
Again, the question, I'm sorry.
Well, in the United States, we pride ourselves in the fact that we're tolerant of other religions and that we practice religious freedom for all. How do you view that, considering what you said about Islamic ideology and the carrying out of the issues related to the Quran?
What really makes this country amazing is liberty. And when we think about liberty, where this is coming from? Is it an idea, or is it God's grace in principle that he practically did on the cross? He defeated religion, he defeated beliefs, he defeated hate, everything by love. And he gave us this great gift. And liberty, I think also that Jesus Christ gets the credit for liberty. It's an amazing thing. And Jesus Christ, if he was praying for people who were persecuting him, crucified, nailing him to the cross, in lots of pain, he was praying for them and forgiving them. This is the highest example in the Bible. And this is the highest example for us as Christians. Now, in my opinion, that Jesus Christ liberated us by this from religion. He didn't condemn anybody. He didn't judge anyone. And he gave the choice for anybody to do whatever they want to do, the free will, from the beginning, from God. And everybody will be responsible for his deeds. And today America is representing this, but unfortunately, today America looks at liberty as it's something out of Christianity. They think, okay, this is American value. It's not a Christian value. They look at this, that this is a man idea, not God's idea. So they are very proud of their liberty, and they're attacking Jesus Christ and attacking the church, which I think will make a huge division and split in the personality of this country. And when I see America going down today, I see that happening, guys. And I feel really sorry for this. We have to know the difference between Jesus Christ as a great, perfect God and man at the same time, and the behavior of human beings, Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, whoever you want to name. And we have to help ourselves all the time to the standards of Jesus Christ, with the respect for every authority. Yes, we don't want Islam to be banned. We want Muslims to come and speak out. So we want to have a dialogue with them and show us the garbage that they believe in. We're waiting for this moment, but the problem, they are running. They're not answering our questions. And I think Brother Haron has something to say. I hope that I answered your question.
I think the religion freedom, I mean, I'm for it, and all Christians who believe in the Bible, we believe in religion freedom, because this is how Jesus actually taught us that you believe, whoever want to believe, you believe. And I think that today in the West, in Europe and in America, I live in Europe, and religion freedom is being misused by many people, by Muslims especially, using our democracy against us. To explain that is that, I mean, democracy means that you can do things free as long as you don't harm others, right? So this is not American new things or European new things. This is biblical. Jesus said that whatever you wish that the others would do for you, do it for them. So you don't harm people. Nobody will harm you. This is fantastic. But this is just really a very romantic idea today. Because Muslims are coming here. You pay taxes. They go to schools as newcomers, learn English, study English. They know the law. Oh, cultural centers. We want cultural centers. The government wants, persecution is a beautiful word. Oh, we are persecuted, well, minority. Okay, we don't want to persecute you. What do you want? Cultural center? Okay, take it. It's a mosque. They train terrorists. This is it. I think that religion freedom must be controlled as
By the Constitution.
by the law of the United States of America or any country in the world.